So I had this message privately sent to me from a Google employee telling me about their experience at Google. Of course, I had to read this because this just seems crazy. I have not read through pretty much any of it other than I just read this part right here, which feels wild. And it gave me kind of a little bit of like, hey, this is what's happening. So let's do this. TLDR, I wrote this whole thing as a TLDR, but now it's this size. Oopsies. Pre-watched. I pre-watched this text. I did format it in tech. I did format it, so I do know how the ending goes because I was formatting it and I read the ending on accident. How to work 10 hours a week as a software engineer for 7 years for $400,000 a year. Everybody take out. I was expecting to see a bunch of Pepe notes going on. Where's the Pepe notes? All right, anyways. Engineering estimates are so fuzzy and the org so broad that's not really used as the measure of productivity. Okay. For flat teams, 12 per manager, 70 per skip at the company without micromanagement. If your manager is too busy to know exactly what your day-to-day is, it's easy to pass off slow work as challenging work. Okay. Yep. Thank you for the essays. So first off, this is actually kind of wild. 12 people per manager, 70 per skip. There's like a prescribed amount. For every 6 managers, there's a skip level. For every 12 employees, there's one manager. Kind of wild. It helps when your manager has a disconnect stopping them from fully understanding your work. Are they a PhD who mainly reads ML research papers and worked on ML theory, doesn't code, never really did, and only works on cross-team collaborations with other managers, and doesn't have a good idea of the part of the code base you work in? Okay. A lot of work is ML modeling based and requires experiments that may or may not pan out. Not launching is a presumed risk of any experiment. Plus, many ML/data analysis/investigatory work doesn't require checking in much code. Document trail of artifacts. By the way, you can really tell this is Google when they say artifacts. Google is all about technical artifacts. They want you writing up everything. Everything needs to be written to a T. All right, the promo system rewards impact and complexity and leadership, which is easier to claim when you were the sole owner of a project. So many projects are designed to be highly independent. So often your teammates don't know much about your work. This does actually make sense. Just throw in leadership in there. Lead your own personal project. Complexity unknown. This sounds like the dream. Given the old promo system and quid pro quo solicitation of performance feedback, everybody's too scared to give anyone else negative feedback at the peer level. Oh yeah, because if your promos are directly tied to peer feedback, then you have it's like the inverse prisoner dilemma. Like no one wants to tell because you're gonna know, and then everybody else. Oh, baby. Why would you give critical feedback to someone which they can read after when you will get the peer reference from them? And given how little they know, if you are nice and help them with their bugs, reviews quickly, or just rubber stamp, they often mistake that for doing a good job at your own job. This is a very true statement. A quid pro quo of some sorts, if you will. Anyways, at the manager/calibration committee level, if your manager doesn't even know what you're doing, the other managers have no clue whatsoever. So given only positive peer feedback plus clueless managers arguing calibration with their gut instinct. So your manager feeling you are smart can be enough. Plus, your manager is incentivized to argue for you since having a low performer looks poorly on him. I could see that. Managers pre-bucket all employees into, say, bottom 5%, and those going up for promo, top 10 to 20, and then only those 2 groups are scrutinized and fought over, and maybe people who haven't been promoted in a long time. So if your manager likes you more than other teammates, you'll get a rubber stamp performance rating with no debate from others in the collaboration committee. Damn. Add in the constant churn of reorgs and new managers/skip/teammates, and you constantly get a fresh start for their impression of you. So it's often about everyone's first impression of you. Oh my goodness. Historically, we only need one real mandatory annual review. The mid-year review was mainly for those going for promo. This system can be heavily gamed by recency bias by working harder in 2 to 3 months before the review. let's see, I don't know, has a really low fire rate compared to other companies. Historically, they felt they only hired the best, so were nicer than other companies and were more willing to give more chances, plus lowered their allowed plateau level from 5 to 4. Though, recently they've changed the percent of people who get the lowest 2 buckets in perf reviews. Okay. Yeah, so if you don't know what a plateau level is, there's this idea that you could work at a company and you don't have to excel past that level. They're okay with you just coasting at that level. So they allow L4 coasting. And if I'm not mistaken, an L4 is not a senior engineer at that point. An L4 is just an engineer. An L5 would be a senior engineer. So they allow an L4, a engineer coasting. While the bar to get promoted is pretty high and has been competing with lots of tryhards, the bar to not get fired is so low. The flexible work hours, manager constantly in meetings, independent projects, ability to work from home, mandatory COVID work from home, current hybrid work week, make so you don't even have to go to work, and Slack. You can be at home playing video games and dial into meetings or 2 each week. Keep in mind, you're still getting better at your job every year. So if you truly don't care about getting promoted, you can work for fewer and fewer hours each week as the years go on. The crux of the issue is managers hate spending time on perf reviews, so ignore it all year and then have to decide everyone rating in a single 8-hour day of calibration. Maybe an extra half day is used before the pre-sort and the half day after the tough cases. They can actually deeply read and understand everyone's CLs, design docs, bugs, design challenges to truly understand complexity and hard work in 8 hours? No. Every manager is biased and says their reports are performing better than other managers' reports. It's too subjective. So how do they break the tie amongst themselves? Do they use objective numbers like revenue? No. They argue that they can that can be biased per team. So what do they use? They use artifacts. The technical artifacts. I've heard of these being just fantastic. You just got to write about what you do. You don't actually do anything. You just write it. So you're not actually elevating on if you worked hard. You're elevating on if you made it look like you worked hard. Employee A checked in a 100-line CL to implement a feature and marked the bug as done. And then they played video games all month. Employee B had to do the same project but wrote 10,000-word design doc to explain the 100 lines of code they planned to write, checked in their 20 broken iterations of that code, created a tracking bug with 40 sub-tracking bugs, partnered with one engineer who rubber-stamped all the code reviews, faster iteration time, caused production outage, wrote a post-mortem, logged more bugs, had no idea how the system worked, and wrote 1,000 lines of technical debt, laden hacks instead of 100 lines of code for their implementation, launched something that may or may not be working, skipped adding any instrumentation or spending any time to look up or use existing metrics, but it must be fine because nobody asked them to write another postmortem yet. And as Trump says, if we stopped testing, we'd have fewer failing cases. Then wrote an elaborative 10,000-word launch doc touting their success. Obviously, employee B performed better. Look at the complexity of that project and how much they did. I mean, it's a really good point. Consistent churn will always look more impressive than inconsistent excellence. Your job is not really to write good code for the company or increase company revenue, though that may happen incidentally sometimes. It's really to construct an array of artifacts that look impressive to the bosses upon cursory glance. And on many teams, including mine, that can be vastly different than what's aligned with the company's interests. Oh, and don't forget to throw in good measure of self-aggrandizing. This is one-step plan. Over-document and bloat everything. Every company has gaming of the performance evaluation metrics, so why fight it? Instead, use it to your advantage. Pro tips. Code. Be sure to check in at any random time scripts. Oh, hold on. Be sure to check in any random one-time scripts, like bash scripts and squeal queries, to bump your change count. A random utils directory nobody cares about scrutinizing works a great place to toss these into the void. Bug notes. Split all bugs into at least 10. It's more impressive when your 5-line CL fixes fix 5 bugs. Be sure to add copious notes and screenshots. All the images are great, but it's often easiest to use screenshots of plain text and code as it increases the vertical scroll bar of your bugs. Therefore, the complexity of problems you are solving. Oh my goodness, it's so true! Vertical complexity is a real thing! Oh no! Design launch docs. First steps, of course, split your work into multiple launches that have to go out each with their own specific design/launch doc. Second, repeat 90% of what you put in the design doc in the launch doc. Don't forget to 2 to 3x these in size months after the launch before perf. It's so good. It's so true. Post facto, edit them to be bigger, so that as launch time comes closer, or as promo time comes closer, it's even bigger. Dude, this is Death Note level shit. I know. Of course, it varies from team to team, but if you have a lax few close teammates and a lax manager, you can all enable each other in your laziness. I once worked with the division 40 plus, where I was shocked none of their engineers, except one who was always too busy to meet, knew anything about their systems. They couldn't even answer simple questions like how a user might trigger their code in real life or how to force their code to run internally. None of them could debug anything. They literally checked in with unit tests only, or maybe they skipped those two and got back aggregate statistics, but knew nothing else. In one day, I understood and could debug their system better than any of them. But those same people are still getting promoted at the exact same rate as our team. Obviously, each team should have 10% promoted equally each cycle. So if you don't get fired in the first 6 months and coast for a few years, eventually someone will notice you haven't been promoted for a while, and you'll get scrutinized. But with only 1 year annual reviews and other deficiencies, it's pretty easy to get here. And you should just change companies, because getting promotion via an interview is way easier than getting an internal promotion. So let's say you've coasted for a while, and for whatever reason, demotivation, medical, addiction, focusing on marriage and family, you got a low rating at any point or a long plateau. You can still do all of the above and not get fired, but it's really not worth it. If you don't have consistent upwards trajectory, consider your job a dead end, because it will take longer to change people's opinions of you, and you are being way underpaid in the meantime, then just get a new job at a different company. Work just as hard, or less hard even, and then get your promotion. You are only working your way up from 0 to N instead of negative N to N, especially if you're offered money to quit. Take the money and use your additional years of experience for promo at the new place. It's just not worth the uphill battle to stay. P.S. I am jealous of the genius who got accepted. Or okay, here it is. Here's the line. Are you ready? P.S. I'm still jealous of the genius who accepted the job at Google and Facebook during COVID. Simultaneously worked both. 2x salary will always trump even 3 promos. Legendary. I actually really liked number 21 right here. This is actually really good advice. This is actually stellar advice right here. Which is, if you do have a negative perception, that fight back is all but impossible, because sometimes things happen, right? You focus on family and marriage, you do things differently, and you really do just, you gain a negative perception because of outside influences, because of things that you're taking differently. Or say you used to work 60 hours a week, and now you're just like, hey, I really want to take family important and all that, so you start working 30 to 40, and everyone notices you're not delivering as fast as you used to. But now you're just delivering at a more normal level. And so what do you do here? Do you just jump out? Anyways, I can't give any details onto who gave this or why, but this was a set of notes handed to me by someone who works at Google and wanted to kind of give me the down low on what's going on. And that was incredibly revealing. The thing I hate about it is that I want to feel satisfied at the end of the day. I want to go work and make something awesome. And though that lifestyle sounds amazing, 10 hours a week, $400,000 a year, I'm worried what it would do to my soul. You know what I mean? Great money, amazing benefits, amazing stock, but like coasting kills me. I just don't think it's worth it. Now, obviously, it's very easy for me to say that because, I already get to work at Netflix. I've established and made great things. I've done good things that I really am happy about. The point is that even if I didn't have a lot of money, I'm pretty confident I would still continue to say the same thing. I want to be able to make good things. You know what I mean? I want to accomplish things. He established great things, called it. I don't want to just be someone that just kind of works and gets by in life. I want to actually master it You know, like I really loved when I used to play the guitar for 4 to 6 hours a day. And like as I got better and better and better, it was such an incredible experience. You know what I mean? Like I really felt awesome at it and it really made me happy. And so the same thing with coding is that like it really makes me happy when I build good things, you know? Hey, the name is the Primeagen.